On the ice,
Maya Usova et Alexander Zhulin, équipe unifiée.
Here are the outstanding Russian couple, Maya Usova and Alexander Zhulin, bronze medalists at last year's World Championships. Second after both of the compulsory dances, even though surprisingly they didn't practice well for either one.
Well, today you'll see many different styles of polka, but the one that they've chosen is a Viennese style.
I think it's interesting that they've selected this particular style of polka because this couple has got a clarity of line that is perhaps the best in this competition, and the polka is not a dance that lets them show that up. So this selection lets them at least make an attempt at showing us what they do best. I talked earlier of perhaps some of these couples looking a bit too animated, but with Maya and Sasha, I feel that they really are enjoying what they're doing out there.
Well, there's a great interplay between the two of them. It almost tells a story between girl and boy. A very difficult dance with difficult transitions, but they're just so smooth.
We are the first of the big three couples to skate, and obviously these will be first place marks.
5-7, 5-7.
It should be pointed out that the order of skating for the original dance has nothing to do with placement in the compulsory dances. It's a total random draw once again.
Here are the second set of marks, 5-9 from the unified judge. The 5-7s from William McLaughlin of Canada and the Hungarian judge. The rest are 5-8s. First place marks for Usova Zhulin so far. Seventh after both compulsory dances. Here are Susanna Rahkamo and Petri Koko of Finland. Kind of the Scandinavian version of the Duchesnays. They are clubmates of the Duchesnays, training in Oberstdorf, Germany as well, under the direction of the Duchesnays coach, Martin Skutnicki.
Well, again, here we're seeing a different version than Usova Zhulin. This is a much more traditional polka. And as you can see, the costumes vary with each different style of polka.
It's interesting that you talk about costume bar because, believe it or not, in the rule book, there is a deduction in the composition part of the mark for inappropriate costumes.
Susanna Rahkamo and Koko. Barb, you mentioned that was a traditional polka, but that's not the first one they had this year. They worked on another one early in the season and introduced it at Skate America. The judges said it was not a polka, and they went back to the drawing board, and in fact, that was one of the reasons the Duchesnays changed theirs as well.
Well, the music selection is one of the most important parts of this dance, and in fact, if they do have the wrong tempo of music, there is a very major deduction.
Well, it certainly must be a motivating environment in Oberstdorf because of the fact that Martin is there with the Duchesnays. This team is there, both ranked very highly in the world. And there's nothing better in a working environment like that.
Look at the difference there. 5-2 from the Hungarian judge, 5-7 from the French judge. Second place marks from 8 of the 9 judges. The Hungarians have them rated third. Here are the Hungarian national champions since 1985, Clara Engi and Attila Toth, who were 6th in both the compulsory dances. Although the feeling after the compulsory dances had concluded was that perhaps they were fortunate because she had made some mistakes, and yet the judges chose to ignore them.
This is another Strauss polka. We've seen a few of them here this evening, and this selection is called the Storm Polka.
As I watch this dance, I'm questioning the use of the ice. This dance appears as though it would fit quite comfortably inside a North American rink, which is at least a good 15 to 20 feet narrower than the one they're out on here right now.
As I watched this polka, I was questioning throughout the dance whether or not this is a typical polka. It didn't seem to have the typical polka moves that we've seen in the other dances, and I also thought that it lacked speed and flow.
3, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3.
Deuxième note.
Second mark.
Here come the second marks, and we could have a move in the standings here. Presentation marks. And there is a variety on the board. They have 4 second-place marks, 5 third-place marks, and so they have dropped behind Rahkamo and Koko, another couple that also train in Oberstdorf.
Welcome back to the ice dancing, and plenty on hand to see our next couple, twice world champions, Klimova and Ponomarenko.
Marina, Klimova et Sergei, Ponomarenko, équipe unifiée.
Here are the leaders after the 2 compulsory dances, Marina Klimova and Sergei Ponomarenko. Bronze medalists in '84 and the silver medalists in '88, and they could take a big step towards gold if they can win this original dance.
Well, after a very trying season last year, they changed coaches. They went from Natalia Durova to Tatiana Tarasova, and I must say that for this couple, it was probably the wisest thing they could have done. They've got new confidence and really look like they're determined to win gold here. One good indicator of the use of edges, which is what the judges are looking for, is change of direction. That means you're having to lean on those edges to change your direction, and this OD is definitely making use of that.
This afternoon, watching the Duchesnays on practice, I'd have to say the crowd was just stomping their feet, clapping their hands to the entire dance, but this music doesn't quite have that feel at all. In fact, the crowd is very quiet. Nonetheless, a very difficult original dance, very intricate footwork, a lot of changes of position between partners, very smooth.
Jean-Claude Keely applauding Klimova and Ponomarenko. Crowd applauding the marks, and look at them. William McLaughlin, the Canadian judge, has given them a 5-9, so as the unified team judge, as well as the American judge, there's a 5-7, the low mark on the pole from the French judge, and so we see the same situation developing from that in the compulsory dance when the French judge had them ranked 4th after one of the CDs.
5-8, 5-8.
Deuxième note.
Second mark.
Well, let's see how the second set compares with Usova and Zhulin. 5-9 from the French judge, and 5-9s from 4 of the judges. First place marks right across the board. They bumped their teammates Usova and Zhulin into second place.
5-9, 5-9.
Here are Stefania, Calegari, and Pasquale Camerlengo of Milan, Italy. They were 4th in the compulsories.
Well, you can see from the costuming already that this will also be a very traditional style Bavarian polka.
Well, I feel as though they've captured the essence of what a polka should be, but they certainly are lacking the speed that we've seen from some other teams out here this evening.
Very creative, and overall a very good polka.
Well, I think those marks are reflecting somewhat the fact that this couple didn't fill this rink. If some of these people in the corners were hoping to have seen some of these dancers up close, they've been disappointed this evening.
And it was interesting, we're sitting directly behind the judges. This dance really played to the judges almost the entire time.
And the second set of marks come up, and they are a little bit higher. And the judges certainly agree on Caligari and Camerlengo because they have 4th place marks right across the board. Well, the cheer goes up even before they're introduced. 9,000 are here, and they're here to see the Duchesnays. Stomping and cheering. 3rd after the compulsory dances, and with Klimova-Ponomarenko currently leading this original dance, the pressure's on the Duchesnays to at least finish 2nd here to give themselves a good shot at gold tomorrow night.
Well, the Duchesnays have always had very innovative, creative free dances, but have also been very outstanding in the original dance. In fact, I remember in Halifax, their original dance was one of the highlights of the competition. They won the blues last year in the original dance, and this year, I think this is where they can make their move.
Well, coming out of the compulsory dances, if we had one comment to make about Isabelle and Paul, was that they looked tight and they looked nervous. I think they've lost that, and with this performance here tonight, I think they're really going to have a chance to enjoy this crowd because they skated very, very well out there.
In a lot of ways, Barb, it was a traditional look, which isn't common for the Duchesnays.
Not at all. This was very traditional. Right back to the Bavarian Alps.
Here are the first set of marks for composition, and they don't look as high as Klimova-Ponomarenko, 5/7s and 5/8s.
What we'll have to wait and see is if they're high enough to catch Usova and Zhulin.
Now, you felt that technically it wasn't quite as difficult, but let's see what the presentation marks hold.
Deuxième note.
Second mark.
Well, they go up 5/7 from the Canadian judge. That's the low mark there. And they have 4 first place marks, 4 second place marks, and the unified team judge has them in third. So the Duchesnays are in second now. They move ahead of Usova and Zhulin, and they are behind Klimova-Ponomarenko. But now they are in position to win the gold medal tomorrow night, should they win the free dance. So they really have accomplished what they needed here with that skate.
Sur la glace. Et Evgeni, Platov, équipe
Last of the
féminine.
contenders to skate in the original dance, Oksana Grishchuk and Evgeni Platov of the unified team. They were 4th after the 2 compulsory dances.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about if the top 3 teams in ice dancing do retire, just who will be heir to the throne. And I quite like this team. They've got a freshness about them, and I think they could be one to be seriously considered in Lillehammer in '94. here's an example of a team using the ice well. They're right out by the boards, and they've gone from one end in one corner to the other end of the other corner. That's what good ice coverage is all about.
This team trains on the same ice surface, same club as Usova and Zhulin, with the noted dance coach Natalia Dubova. I find in general this team has very good unison, very difficult footwork, although I found the music was a little hard to relate to. It wasn't a typical polka, and it just didn't grab me the way the Duchesnays did.
Well, one could say that this team is perhaps one of the last good dance teams to be produced by what we now refer to as the old Soviet Union. And with all the changes that have gone on in that country, it will be interesting to see if the new Commonwealth of Independent States can continue to turn out the top quality ice dancers that they have done so for so many years.
You raised an issue, Paul, with the expected retirements of the big three, but if the Duchesnays do retire, which they're expecting to, and Klimova-Ponomarenko, you'd think Usova and Zhulin would think hard about staying around till 1994.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see. It might be a situation of them all sitting around to see who announces first.
First set of marks for Grishchuk and Platov. They're up to a 5.8 from the French judge. And so this might adjust the way the top three stand, because the ordinals may change here.
There they are with their coach, Natalia Dubova.
5-7, 5-5.
Deuxième note.
Second mark.
5-7.
And the presentation mark. So they have a second place mark from France. They have a third place mark from Czechoslovakia. And the rest are fourth and fifth place marks, so Grishchuk and Platov remain in fourth spot. So it's Klimova-Ponomarenko, then the Duchesnays now overall, Usova and Zhulin third, Grishchuk, Platov fourth.
5-8, 5-7.
Well, the man has got it right, of course. That's the standings with just one free skate to go, and that is where the Duchesnays are expected to shine. But boy, oh boy, is the pressure ever on that couple. And we'll be hearing a lot more about that in the next 24 hours, believe it.
They are the Duchesnays, ice dancers extraordinaire. Brother and sister Paul and Isabelle, though Canadian-born, will dance for France in Albertville, and the French can hardly wait. For the past few months, in the German village of Oberstdorf, the Duchesnays have been secretly preparing their Olympic routines under the critical eye of their choreographer, Christopher Dean, now married to Isabelle.
The ice rink that we have here, it's what we need, and it's halfway up a mountain, and there's nothing else to do other than ice skate. Come 8:30, everything closes. So it's good for putting the blinkers on and say, we've got to work now. Yeah, careful but better. The only thing that I can help, I think, is that the knowledge that I've gone through it, and now I'm trying to tell Paul and Isabelle, this year in particular, that the Olympics is the biggest experience that we'll have, and they've won the World Championships, they've had the popularity over the previous 4 years, but an Olympic year is something else, that it becomes, the attention of the world's media is upon you, and this is the big year, and the thing is to keep yourself in check, not to let it get out of hand.
There's an open communication between us that can be done easier than if we were from two different worlds. It's also easier because he's been through it all already, and he knows exactly every step of the way what becomes difficult and when you lose patience and when you get tired, and he knows how to cope with that, and he helps us, like Paul and myself, with that. So it's really a big plus for us.
In 1988, Isabelle and Paul took their audiences on safari with this compelling jungle music routine. 2 years later, the Duchesnays attracted more supporters with a performance entitled Missing, which told the story of social chaos in South America.
We just came out with some skating to themes that hadn't been exploited before.
But this routine reflections failed to impress the judges at the European Championships, who dismissed it as too avant-garde. Then, last year, a revamped performance which put all the disappointments behind them when it won gold at the World Championships in Munich.
Not trying to make pretty stories, you know, we tried to take more serious subjects, or even if the subject's not serious, but in a real way, that we're not trying to make it sort of pantomime in any way, or not too kitsch.
Well,
we want to be authentic.
Simplicity is most of the time the best thing on the ice. It too cluttered up, you lose the image. You don't know what exactly you're looking at.
I suppose you could all be forgiven for thinking that there's no one else in this competition but the Russians and the Duchesnays. Not true, of course, as we're about to discover.
AMP, proudly bringing you Profile of an Olympian.
Finland's Rahkamo and Koko skated into the ice dancing world in a flash. There they were at the 1990 World Championships in Halifax. Susanna Rahkamo playing a prostitute who falls in love with a disinterested stranger played by her partner, Petri Koko. Their sport, long dominated by the Soviets, has its own tradition and its own unwritten rules. To win, you almost have to wait your turn. Rahkamo and Koko would have none of that. Their routine created controversy, attention, and a sixth-place finish for the Finns from Helsinki.
It's more interesting to create new things and find out new ways of doing something. But also I think that's the only way for us, because if we go on do the same thing that others are doing, nobody will recognize us.
Everything is breath. 2. Breathe more, Susanna. Release, yeah.
A choreographer who had never worked on the ice was their choice for a new look in 1989. Jorma Wuotinen is a renowned theatrical choreographer from Helsinki who doesn't see them as athletes.
I think that they are performing artists, and they have the open mind to bring probably something different on the ice.
We want to give the people something, even to love or to hate.
That's why they left the beautiful city life of Helsinki for the beautiful but isolated Oberstdorf, Germany 5 years ago. 8 months a year they are coached here by Martin Skotnitzky, coach of the other, more famous New Look ice dance team, Paul and Isabelle Duchesnay. All this initiative from two kids from a nation known for skiing, not skating.
It's not something people try every day from Finland to become good in ice dancing, so it was really a very difficult task to start with.
Their approach to performance is also seen in their look at life, and they look at it together. On the bicycles he loves, or the tennis courts where she is learning. Petri says give it a try, and Susanna says why not?
When we started with the ice dancing, he was the one who taught me all the steps and technique and so on. So same way you've been teaching me to play tennis. Well, I haven't succeeded. I'm not Steffi Kraft yet, so.
Sometimes I run to the court over there, and sometimes to the court over there. No, just kidding. She plays great. She plays great.
Sport is a natural for Susanna. Her dad was a two-time Olympic triple jumper for Finland. And Kari Rahkamo is still better known in Helsinki than she is. He's not a sportsman anymore, but he does run the city.
I want you to meet someone. This is my dad, new mayor of Helsinki.
They certainly are a couple of kids with a good sense of humor. But, all kidding aside, are they a couple?
We get along very well and we have a good time together. Well, that's it.
There is, however, plenty of passion in their performances. enough to create routines that are daring and different. The only way to skate when you are ice dancers from Finland.
Why can't we do something that nobody's done here before? Just make it more interesting, huh?
Yeah, and I'm really happy with this.
Terrific couple. And right, they should go for something a little bit different because, to be quite honest, some of them have been probably doing the same routines for a couple of years, and I think the ice dancing is going to change all that. More